Hello everyone, this is Kyle, and in today's video I want to talk about some late summer lawn care tips for our warm season grasses. So we're in August right now, and believe it or not, summer is going to come to an end soon. So I want to talk about maybe some things that you're seeing right now in your yards that could become some issues as we move into fall. And I want to give some tips along the way. So we've had a really good summer so far. I've been in lawn care for 17 years, so I've seen a lot of things, but this summer has been especially well as far as rainfall is concerned. So our yards are doing well, they're green, we're not seeing a whole lot of issues other than maybe some insect issues, and I'm going to get into that here in just a few minutes. But the first tip that I have is to apply just a light round of fertilizer in your yard as we sort of move into late summer and get into fall. You want to give your grass a little bit of strength as we move into fall. Now, avoid those high nitrogen fertilizers. You really don't want to push out a whole lot of new growth. You really just want to sort of strengthen the roots of your grass as we move into fall. So just do a light little layer of fertilizer on your lawn, water it in really well, and that's all you really need to do as far as fertilizer is concerned. And speaking of watering, really this time of year we're still getting a lot of good rainfall. So you only need to be watering maybe once a week, but no more than twice a week. But I would just recommend once a week, just watering deeply for long periods of time. Let that water percolate through the soil. So once a week with watering this time of year, as long as you're getting decent rainfall, that's going to be good enough for you. 1 inch of water per week. If you keep up with how much you're watering, if you have a rain gauge, just 1 inch of water in your lawn per week is sufficient. The next tip I want to give you is to inspect your lawn for insects. So we have 3 main insects that we see this time of year in August and September. Armyworms, chinch bugs, and grubs. So you really want to be on the lookout for these 3. These are the 3 insects that really cause the most damage in your yard. In years past, we have already seen armyworms at this point, but we haven't seen armyworms yet this year, and I think they may have skipped over us this year. But if you do see armyworms, they only feed on the grass tissue, on the surface of the lawn. Now, they make your grass look dead, they'll give it a brown appearance, and you'll think it's apocalyptic at the amount of worms that are in your yard and the damage that they're causing. But just know that they don't damage the roots of the grass. They only eat the surface tissue of the grass blades. And after they sweep through your yard, give it a few weeks and your yard will be back to normal. Again, because they don't damage the roots of the grass. The other 2 insects that you really need to be worried about are chinch bugs and grubs, because they do cause long-term damage in your yard. And they cause damage in different ways. Grubs, they'll feed on the roots of your grass, and you'll know that you have grubs if you have armadillos digging in your yard. Now, chinch bugs will kill your yard. If you're seeing areas of your yard that are just dead grass, but there's no signs of armadillos digging in your yard, most likely you have chinch bugs. Now, you won't be able to see the chinch bugs in your yard. They're very small, about the size of a gnat. But if you're seeing areas of your yard that look like drought-stressed areas or drought conditions, well, we know this year that it's not drought stress. We've had plenty of rainfall, so you can rule that out. So then you want to kind of retrain your brain and think, okay, maybe it's an insect. Well, most likely it's the chinch bugs causing that damage in your yard. So what can you do for these chinch bugs? Well, you can apply an insecticide, anything with bifenthrin in it. There's a product called Talstar, and it comes in a granular or a liquid form. But if you apply the granular form, make sure you water that in, get that down into the roots of your grass, into the soil, where it will kill those chinch bugs. And then you're basically just in recovery mode at that point. And since your grass is dead in those areas, it's going to take your lawn a while to recover. So the chinch bugs kind of hang out in the thatch area of your lawn. They sort of feed on not the roots of the grass, but right as the grass comes up out of the ground, that's where they use their piercing and sucking mouth parts, and they inject a toxin into the grass, and that's how they kill it. It essentially just prevents water and nutrients from flowing through the grass, killing your lawn. So if you're seeing damage in your yard, be on the lookout for those 3 insects and treat them accordingly with an insecticide. My next tip is mowing. So you want to mow on a regular basis. This time of year, you really, maybe once a week is all you need. This is freshly cut lawn here. It looks great. They just mowed it this morning. Looks really good out here at this park. But you know, get on a weekly mowing schedule. Keep in mind if you're one of those homeowners that likes to let your grass grow for a long period of time, let's just say a month. You're a once a month mower. Well, you don't want to come in and just hack off all of that grass tissue at one time. If your grass is tall and then you mow all of that down to the roots of the grass, you're going to cause some stress. You're going to stress out your grass and it's just going to look bad. So you want to gradually mow your grass down a little bit at a time. But that's why I recommend just mowing weekly, and that way you're not stressing your grass out. It's also a good idea in the heat of the summer to keep a little canopy. So you want to raise your mowing height and sort of create that shade canopy there to protect the roots of your grass from this scorching heat that we deal with here in Alabama. And never remove more than 1/3 of the grass blade at one time. That's when you start to stress it out, when you come in and just cut all of that grass down. So the rule of thumb is never remove more than 1/3 of the grass tissue in one mowing. My next tip is to do a little soil test in your yard. See what the pH is of your soil. If you have a lower pH level, then you want to put some lime on your yard to raise that pH level. When your soil has a higher pH, it just helps your lawn take in nutrients a little better. Rainfall, fertilizer, nitrogen, you know, whatever you're putting on your yard, if you have a higher pH, it just helps to take in those nutrients a little bit better. So do a little soil test and see where you stand. You can get a little soil pH tester for fairly cheap, and just stick it in the ground, leave it there for a few minutes, let it register, and it'll tell you what your pH is. Usually anything between 5.5 and 6.5 is a healthy pH. But if it's lower than 5.5, I would apply a good layer of lime in your yard, and that'll raise the pH level to give you some healthy soil moving into fall. And next, you want to spot treat for whatever weeds you see in your yard. So here we got some weeds popping up here, some nasty looking grassy weeds, crabgrass. So whatever spring pre-emergent you put down last spring has all worn off at this point. So you want to mix you up a little backpack sprayer of whatever weed control that you need for whatever weeds you have in your yard. Look, here's a little patch of broadleaf weeds, and just spot treat your weeds. And then before you know it, pre-emergent season will be here. So fall is right around the corner, believe it or not. So that's the time to put out your fall pre-emergent. The months of September and October is a great time to get that first round of fall pre-emergent down. So I know it's still hot here in September, here in the South, but that's okay. You want to just go ahead and get your pre-emergent down, whether it's hot or not. Now, the one thing you have to worry about when applying chemicals in hot weather is that post-emergent. So if you're spot treating your weeds, just be careful not to spray too much product in one spot at one time, because you will create some burning. And then be careful when you're spraying that pre-emergent too. If you mix in a post-emergent product with your pre-emergent, so just be careful. You might create some tip burn if you're spraying in really hot 100-degree weather, but the pre-emergent side of it will be fine. It's just be careful mixing that post-emergent product. So that's about all the tips I have for you today when it comes to late summer tips. And again, as a reminder, this is only about warm season turf grasses. We live here in the South and we deal with Bermuda, Zoysia, St. Augustine, centipede yards. You may have some different rules for your cool season grasses. But good luck to you and your lawn. Enjoy the rest of this summer. I'll see you.